Now, Dylan, what did you say you were?
You're not getting it from me, mister.
What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome into another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive TV and movie podcast for streaming platforms on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. It's your favorite Cowabunga boys. Haven't said that in a while. KB and Dylan coming at you with our Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 2, Episode 9 breakdown review, full shebang. We're going to rate the entire season at the end of our review. We're getting into Miss Marvel Episode 5, and we're going to get into the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes because we've had a lot of shit drop into our plates today. It's very, very exciting that Dylan and I can't wait to talk about later on in the show. But before we get started, let's get some business out the way. Make sure you're following us on the socials on Twitter and Instagram at StreamerSZN. We just announced, as we record this on Wednesday night, we are giving away a very cool item that I think might be one of the coolest Underground Sports Philadelphia giveaways we've ever done.
$1 million.
It is a variant cover of Wolverine number 22 with Philadelphia Eagles legend, Pro Football Hall of Famer, and it's his nickname, Brian Dawkins, on the cover with Wolverine. Dylan, I'm going to read the synopsis of this book.
For anyone who hasn't seen it yet, Kyle is not lying. It is fresh. And if you're an Eagles fan or a Brian Dawkins fan, it hits even harder.
It's awesome. This was published about a month ago, June 15th, 2022. Here is the synopsis of this book, Dylan. You're going to love this. Who can you trust? Wolverine is trapped in an adamantium prison, and it's probably Deadpool's fault. But the betrayal of Maverick stings worst of all. Just what is so valuable in that briefcase that it pits mutant against mutant, ... against CIA? That is the synopsis of Wolverine number 22. Now, Brian Dawkins is not in the issue. He is just on the cover. Obviously, Wolverine Weapon X being his nickname during his playing days. But we are giving away an issue of Wolverine number 22 with Brian Dawkins on the cover. Go check out our pinned tweet at UndergroundPHI to enter. Plus, you get a bonus giveaway if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's that simple. It's that simple, guys. Make sure you're following us at StreamerSZN, Twitter, Instagram. Follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, for all of our written content. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. And Dylan, what should be in those Apple Podcast reviews?
They should be leaving what we are to watch next. Kyle and I are coming towards... This is the last episode of Stranger Things we're talking about.
For 2 years.
No. No, I had an accent there for a second. But
oh, no.
Almost done Miss Marvel. Obviously, other shows will come up on the docket that we plan, but you guys can help plan something else.
Did just get a recommendation from CFO Margie and the OG of a movie we should be watching, which will drop later on in the program. But it is on the Netflix, and it features 2 Marvel Cinematic Universe characters, a.k.a. Ryan Reynolds and Sir Ben Kingsley. So we'll talk about that later on in the show. But yes, leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple and Spotify with your show recommendations, your movie recommendations, all that good stuff. And even leave business stuff. If you're into the business of streaming platforms, leave topics about that as well, because Dylan and I like diving into that side of the streaming platform stuff as well. And you can do the same thing on YouTube. Comment down below your thoughts on Stranger Things Volume 2 from Season 4, Miss Marvel, how you're liking the show so far. Are you liking the show? What aspects of it are you enjoying? And of course, anything we discuss later on in the streaming platform, Multiverse News and Notes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the like button, hit the bell icon, all that good stuff. You get full video episodes of StreamerSZN and all your favorite Underground Sports Philadelphia shows on our YouTube channel. Shout out to our sponsors who make this show happen. Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. They got those prescription lenses now, So go to TomahawkShades.com, get your prescription blue light lenses, so when you're watching Stranger Things, when you're watching Miss Marvel, shows, movies, all that good stuff, your eyes are protected. And you can see everything because you got your prescription lenses in. And when you go to checkout, use that code USP for 25% off your order. You're getting prescription blue light glasses for around $100. And from everything I've been told, including Dylan himself, for how expensive prescription lenses can be, that's a pretty goddamn good deal.
They definitely add up there. I mean, even contacts alone. I have contacts in right now. Contacts for the year supply, it's usually $200 to $400, depending upon what kind of contacts you have. So, yeah.
So to get a pair of prescription blue light, prescription sunglasses, and regular sunglasses, regular blue light glasses, TomahawkShades.com, promo code USP. You get 25% off at checkout. Kenwood Beer, Dylan's favorite beverage of choice when he's going to light Vecna on fire. Go to kenwoodbeer.com, use the Kenny tracker to see where Vecna might be located, and of course, where they got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. You got to be 21 or older to do so, and of course, please drink responsibly. And when we're not out searching for Vecna, Dylan, we are playing Bingo. Go to BingoBoard.com and use our code BingoUSP, please. It helps us put food on our tables. BingoUSP, BinhoBoard.com, BingoUSP for 10% off your order. That includes boards, that includes accessories, that includes merch, all that good stuff. BingoBoard.com. Dylan, let's get into it. Stranger Things, Season 4, Volume 2, Episode 9, the finale, a.k.a. the piggyback. The feature-length, film-length episode that put everybody in shambles in their feelings. Just an unbelievable feat, I think, for a show to pull this off at the level that they did. Before we even dive into it, just hats off to the Duffer Brothers, because for them to navigate this entire season from when they started filming, like, let's remember, the first trailer for Season 4 dropped on Valentine's Day 2020, which was about a month before the world shut down. And then for them to navigate, having to shut down filming, shut down production, and then pull off this masterpiece of a season that a lot of people are saying is in the pantheon of Season 1, and I'm one of those people. Hats off to them, because I don't think there are not too many people that could pull off the feats that they did, and the Duffer Brothers are in that elite category of being able to pull something off as big and as grand as Season 4 was.
Yeah, no, Season 4 was really epic, many proportions in its own way. It's exciting to see that they were able to still deliver so well with what you just alluded to, like the whole world, not being functioning, having to do distancing, every movie or TV show at the time had unfortunately was hurt by it, and they had to stop producing felt like forever for a lot of things. I remember there was articles basically saying that nothing's being filmed for this, and there was a month or 2 months or a couple months where literally nothing, or at least legally, nothing was legally being filmed. So it's pretty crazy to think about what we saw. I saw an article. It spent in excess of $15 to $30 million per episode on this season, which would make sense. So.
Yeah, especially for this episode that we're going to dive into.
Well, yeah, this one's a movie.
Known as The Piggyback, which this episode alone, I think this episode and episode 4 might go down as two of the best episodes of television ever, especially those two scenes, and we'll talk about, that scene from this episode, but, the Kate Bush scene in episode 4, and episode 4 as a whole, and then I think this episode, for being as grand as it is, and then having the monster scene that it did, I think these two episodes can go down as some of the best in TV history.
Yeah, definitely up there on people's list for sure.
So let's get into it. The piggyback, spoilers ahead. If you have not watched Stranger Things yet, get up out. We'll see you in a little bit. So the synopsis here: with selfless hearts and a clash of metal, Heroes fight from every corner of the battlefield to save Hawkins and the world itself. So outside of the church, our boy Yori, Dylan. Yori is fixing Katinka, who's got a big bottom, like his first love, and tells Murray and Dimitri that the helicopter might work if he gives it another try. The stalling of the engine leads Murray and Dimitri to think that Yuri is purposefully sabotaging Katinka to get his reward money. And inside the church, Hopper and Joyce wait for a call back from the U.S., waiting for the phone call, and Joyce notices Hopper's scarred wounds and expresses concern of his time being confined in the prison, with Hopper reassuring and telling her that it has given him some time to reflect, and he needed to lose some weight anyway. And my goodness, we're talking about all these transformations from Season 3 to Season 4. The transformation that our boy, DK Harbor, Jim Hopper went through for this season is unbelievable, especially having seen him as Red Guardian in Black Widow, and he had to be a bigger fellow for that. Unbelievable transformation for David Harbour.
Yeah, the man's definitely took some acting skills or some fasting skills to heart, and he lost a lot of weight for this role, which makes sense. He had that like a prisoner of war, basically. You wouldn't exactly be nice, plump, and round in a Russian gulag working 9 to 5. Well, not more than.
Shout out Dolly Parton.
Yeah, nonetheless, it was cool to see the transition of how he's looked over the seasons, even like with the hair, the style, and most noticeably his actual weight this season.
Yeah, and I did see somebody say that David Harbour went on the Christian Bale Gore the God Butchered diet.
Yeah, remember he also was Hellboy in the last several years.
Yes,
so definitely knows how to probably lose and gain weight now.
Which we are going to talk about Hellboy later on in the show, Dylan. Nice little breadcrumb.
Didn't even know.
So Joyce obviously, being concerned, and Jim Hopper tells Joyce that he should have never sent that message, but Joyce reaffirms that it was her choice to pursue the rescue mission and that she would do it again, and the pair advances their relationship as they get ready to Marvin Gaye and get it on.
I was like, yo, Duffer Brothers, what am I about to watch?
I heard it in my head. It went, bam, 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 bam. I've been really trying.
But they were what's the word? They were blocked.
Yes, by the phone ringing, and back in Hawkins, Dustin, Nancy, Steve, Robin, and Eddie go over the plan again, with Phase 1 initiating when Nancy, Steve, and Robin get Erica's signal at the playground outside Victor Creel's house, and she'll signal Max and Lucas inside the house when the trio is ready. Phase 2 begins when Max baits Vecna by distracting him into putting her into a trance, and Phase 3 starts with Dustin and Eddie drawing the Demobats away from the house, clearing the trio for an opening, and Phase 4 ends with Nancy, Steve, and Robin heading into Vecna's lair and killing Vecna while he is using his powers. Another fun Halloween callback from Dustin saying it's like killing Dracula in his coffin. And arriving back at the Forest Hills trailer park, the group travels through the hole in the Munson trailer in the Upside Down as the two groups split up. Steve tells Dustin and Eddie if anything goes wrong, they have to abort the mission. You have to go back. Eddie and Steve acknowledge this, and they bid the trio as Nancy, Steve, and Robin walk off to find the Creel house. At a gas station, Jonathan calls and begs for the earliest flight to Hawkins, and Eleven takes notice of a billboard featuring a woman giving her daughter a piggyback and comes up with an idea, recollecting the time she went to her mother and Billy's mines in the void. With flights to Hawkins being as early as tomorrow morning, Eleven proposes a way to protect Max from their current location. Elle explains that Vecna will be in Max's mind. She will be in there as well and can piggyback off of Max's mind to protect her. And to do so, Eleven needs a sensory deprivation tank to help her gain access to Max's subconscious. Will suggests going back to the motel that they had passed earlier, but Mike tells them that they won't have enough salt. And after the group gives Argyle insight on how to make a sensory deprivation tank, he claims to know a place with about 600 pounds of salt, surfer dudes. And after roughly measuring 11 size, Argyle confidently tells the group the mind flight is on and takes the group to their destination. In the Creel house, Lucas, Max, and Erica search for Vecna's presence via lanterns. They search each floor in silence and use notepads to communicate so as not to tip off Vecna. Erica finds him on the first floor and alerts Lucas and Max. Conducting phase 1, Erica runs out to the playground, and a man walking his dog. I knew that motherfucker was no good, because this guy was the one who got up and left that town hall meeting early, who was listening to dumbass Jason, and I wanted to punch him in his face.
Yeah, that's a grown-ass man listening to a 17, 18-year-old.
Just ridiculous. I was blown away that
grown-ass man's listening to this young high schooler. I think he's a senior, because stuff's going on. He's basically saying the devil is in Hawkins and we need to wipe it out.
Well, you heard the boy.
You heard him. But how dumb are you? I mean, granted, they're not that far off, because literally the Upside Down is kind of like hell and weird. Mm-hmm. Still, nonetheless. Right energy, wrong idea. Or wrong energy. Either way.
So walking his dog, he sees the lights from the home, notices Erica, and calls it into Andy, who alerts Jason. We go back to Russia, where Hopper tells the others that the caller on the end of the phone was a friend of Dr. Owens, and told her he had 11 of Joyce's children prepared to fight an evil in the town of Hawkins. But they all went off the grid. Murray suspects that it's the KGB again, but Joyce says that the particles they saw in the prison were alive, meaning that there's a gate opening in Hawkins. Murray says that even if Yuri was able to fix Katinka, the earliest they'd get home would be late tomorrow, but Joyce says that the particles are connected to the hive mind, and they can buy time for the kids by killing the army inside the prison. Murray objects at first, but the trio relents into going back to the prison. Hopper tells Dmitri, our boy Antonov, to do whatever it takes to get Yuri to fix Katinka, while he, Joyce, and Murray go back with the help of their weaponry, including...
like saying Katinka to let him fool you.
including the flamethrower. Then we go back to the California crew, Dylan, and they arrive at a local Surfer Boy pizza. And Argyle tries to convince the fellow Server Boy pizza cashier, a.k.a., doppelganger Argyle, and explains that they need his kitchen so that this weird little girl behind me can help save the world, man. The employee is somewhat hesitant because, he has to meet up at the Taco Bell in 10, so I don't know what to tell you. And then Jonathan offers Argyle's Purple Palm Tree Delight. A nice little joint as payment, and soon allows the crew to get to work. Will and Jonathan fill the freezer with salt and water, while Mike crafts a pair of sunglasses from the van. Meanwhile, Eddie and Dustin barricade the trailer with scrap metal, and Eddie is ecstatic to find an upside-down version of his guitar in the bedroom. You ready for the most metal concert ever?
Wait. There you
go. In the decaying woods of the Upside Down, Nancy, Steve, and Robin travel to the Creel house. There, Steve begins to reminisce about his stupidity and confidence from before, and thanks Nancy for waking him up from his stupidity 2 years prior. He tells Nancy that she had changed his life for the better, but wonders had he had changed before he met Nancy, if they still would have been a couple. Steve reveals to Nancy that his dream of traveling across the country with his family involved Nancy by his side, but knows it's too late. They're interrupted by Robin telling them they've arrived at the Creel home, and sees Erica's light at the playground. Arriving at the prison, Joyce, Jim, and Murray notice the lack of guards in the prison, and Dmitri watches over Yuri and berates him for treating Americans so coldly when they've warned them about an evil that can harm their families and lives. Dmitri tells him how he was told how great the peanut butter smuggler once was, and causes Yuri to take out the missing piece that he needed and finally get his shit together and help out. Back in the Hawkins Creel house, Max and Lucas sit as they wait for the next phase in the living room. Through their notepads, Max tells Lucas she's glad he's here with her. Lucas asks if she wants to go to the movies with him this Friday and accepts his invitation by showing a crude drawing of her and Lucas going to the movies together. This reignited, Dylan, my faith in love and everlasting, hope for, there is somebody out there for everybody.
Your everlasting story.
Oh, that was just a very fun scene because you didn't expect it. You didn't know what Max was doing. And Lucas was like holding his breath. It's like, come on, come through for my boy Max. And they were going to go to the movies on Friday. So then Erica then flashes her light at the playground to Lucas and Max, and once Lucas flashes back, she confirms that the lovebirds have seen the light, and Robin, it's time to go through the Upside Down to move to phase 2 as they wait for Vecna to take the bait. And as Nancy said, take the bait, you son of a bitch. Max puts on her sneakers and approaches the lantern flickering where Vecna is. Max attempts to call and taunt Vecna, but is confused as to why there's no response. The lantern's light fades out as Max and Lucas slowly walk upstairs. And then back at Surfer Boy Pizza, dude. Mike finishes crafting his sensory deprivation sunglasses. As he and Eleven flirt, Mike attempts to tell her his feelings, but is interrupted by Argyle with some pineapple on pizza, dude. Which, everybody out there, pineapple on pizza, bad. I'm glad we agree on that.
Agreed.
So then Will sadly observes them from afar. Jonathan, taking notice, asks Will if he remembers when he was little and asks Jonathan to get a Lego figure named Larry out of his nose. Living like Larry.
Hopefully not in the nose, though.
As they laugh, Jonathan says that he misses Will asking him for help and advice, feeling he doesn't do it anymore, but also apologizes for being stoned a lot of the times when Will needed him. As Will gets emotional, Jonathan empathizes with him and says that he's here for him and that he'll love him no matter what and what he does. Will embraces his brother, and Jonathan reassures him that it'll be okay. They soon finish preparing the freezer and inform the others, and Elle places herself in the freezer and quickly finds Max and Lucas in the void, and she tells the boys that Max's plan isn't working. Were you surprised that they didn't do the alleged everybody's theory reveal of Will being gay during that scene?
Well, I think it's still plausible that he is, but I don't know. I
think it was good that they left it out for now.
I took it as Jonathan was hinting at it and letting him know, like a good brother, like, you can tell me anything, and then you see, like, they reminisce on the Larry, and then they're able to have like a heart-to-heart. Also, it doesn't have to be about that theory or not theory about that plot point. It's also about how they have been distant because Jonathan's a stoner now, and they moved across country, and blah blah blah. So it was a rekindling of brothers. Under the guise, or with the guise of Jonathan basically saying, Will, I know you're gay, it's okay. Without it. So leave, I guess, some, mist in the air, but not really.
And I think it's one of those things that if they do, flat out say that Will is gay in season 5, I think it's going to be used as one of those things because he's still connected to Vecna.
I don't think they're going to flat out necessarily say it unless they do what you just said, just because the show seems to keep to the time period, and unfortunately, and obviously it's not a good thing, but in that time period it was a little more, well, no, not a little more, it was not as common to be gay or be out and gay as in today's day. Now, a lot of people watching the show, myself included, I wasn't alive in the 80s, but like, you see that with how they talk about Robin made in last season or this season, whatever it was, that if she
last season,
talks to the wrong woman, she basically gets burnt like a witch, essentially. She said, which is true.
I think she did it in both seasons, because when she came out to Steve,
yes,
and then we had that whole scene of her kind of by herself, kind of like breaking it down, like to reveal that her character was gay. And then this season, she did bring up, if she talks to the wrong girl, then she gets burned like the witch.
So
I think I agree with you.
You can't. It's unfortunately at that time period, you can't just openly come out and say. And not that all his friends. I guarantee you, all the friends will be supportive, and obviously his mom and brother are great.
And hopefully Mike gets his head out of his ass.
Yes, but we'll see where that ends up going.
Yeah. And I think I've seen a lot of people just searching like the, Stranger Things hashtag and stuff. A lot of people have related to like how those two characters have felt, about their sexuality and everything. And I think the Duffer Brothers have, approached such a difficult subject for such a long time for people, in a really sensitive manner and a really, careful manner, to really like show what it was like to kind of go through those thoughts and kind of self-discovery of one's sexuality during the 80s.
Yeah, not wrong.
So then Max and Lucas are now in the attic as they stand near a lantern. Max tells Vecna she knows she can hear him and sits down without her Walkman. She tells Vecna how what he said about Max wanting Billy to die was true, as there were nights she'd pray something bad to happen to her stepbrother since he made her life miserable and a living hell every chance he got. She admits that the day Billy died, she hesitated to run to him because she didn't know whether he truly deserved to be saved. She says that she can't forgive herself, and at night she now prays she could be taken instead, admitting to Vecna that she wants him to disappear.
Emotional damage.
Big damage. Lucas asks Max if that's the truth, and if she ever thinks those thoughts about him. Max is confused as to why Lucas is talking, but he tells her normal people don't fantasize about killing other people, Max. Lucas begins to talk to back Max into a corner, telling her he's glad she'll be the final sacrifice that will break the world. Lucas, in reality, attempts to wake up a cursed Max. Eleven tells the boys in the void that Vecna has Max, and in Max's hallucination, she hits Lucas, who turns into Vecna as she bolts downstairs. That was a very cool transition of switching from Lucas to Vecna. Holding Max's hand, Elle concentrates and retreats back to a skate park in the 1970s. Back in reality, Lucas signals Erica through the window, and she tells Robin to initiate Phase 3. Robin informs Dustin, and he sets up the speakers on top of the Munson trailer in the Upside Down, and Eddie begins to play the song we've been waiting for to hear what it was, and it is Metallica's Master of Puppets to lure the Demobats away. And Dylan, I don't know if you saw, I think it is very cool how especially this season, the artists and bands and stuff have really embraced how loved and adored they have become, or have been appreciated all this time, and the Duffer Brothers incorporating their music into this show and being alongside all of them. Metallica put out a statement that we tweeted out yesterday on their official Facebook page. I'll read it here. It says, "The way the Duffer Brothers have incorporated music into Stranger Things has always been next level, so we were beyond psyched for them to not only include Master of Puppets in the show, but to have such a pivotal scene built around it. We were all stoked to see the final result, and when we did, we were totally blown away. It's so extremely well done, so much so that some folks were able to guess the song just by seeing a few seconds of Joseph Quinn's hands in the trailer. How crazy is that? It's an incredible honor to be such a big part of Eddie's journey and to once again be keeping company with all the other amazing artists featured in the show."
That's awesome.
I think that's so cool, that these, older artists and older bands are showing such, love and appreciation for them being incorporated in a modern thing.
It's caused a thing too. I saw a TikTok. It went kind of viral. It had a couple 100,000 likes, I think. This girl was watch Stranger Things, wanted to buy a band shirt of Metallica and company, but she was smart, and I respect this about her. And everyone should take on this logic. She's like, I didn't want to buy it and not know their songs. I only know 5 seconds. And then flash forward, and she had a bunch of band shirts, and she had posters, and she was
That's cool.
I now love 80s metal.
That's awesome.
So it's that allowed someone to go back in time and listen to music.
And I think it's cool too. I saw one today as well from Iron Maiden. They tweeted, Eddie holding up the cassette tape of theirs when he screamed, "This is music!" And they captioned it, "We're with Eddie on this one." So it's really cool. Kate Bush, Iron Maiden, Metallica, like all these like, Hall of Fame worthy artists and bands, putting out feelers and showing love for their stuff being adopted by Stranger Things.
Hall of Fame, I'm assuming, maybe not.
I think so. I think both of them are, and I'd be shocked if Kate Bush doesn't get in after this. Just really cool, and I think those are now two iconic songs that will be related to this season of Stranger Things with Running Up That Hill and Master of Puppets. I can't stop playing Master of Puppets. It's been on repeat for me since July 1st. It's been unreal. That scene is so cool, and I just watched an interview with Joseph Quinn, the actor who plays Eddie Munson, and he said, outside of the one big solo part where he said, quote, "We brought in a black belt guitar player because it just wasn't going to happen with me." He played most of Master of Puppets himself, which I think is really cool. He said that during like the shutdown of their production, the Duffer Brothers emailed him and said, "Do you play guitar?" And he was like, "Yes?" ? And then he had 3 copies of the script showing that he was going to be playing Master of Puppets in his email inbox.
That's awesome.
So we get the unbelievable Master of Puppets scene, pulling the pick off Chrissy. "This is for you." Hit it right in the feels. Eddie is absolutely jamming, and he's leading the Demobats away from the Creel house. Nancy, Steve, and Robin approach the Creel house as the bats are led away, and in Max's hallucination, she attempts to escape the house but finds the doors boarded up. And in reality, Jason and Andy speed towards the playground as Andy chases Erica away. And when Max opens the door, she finds a hallucination of Billy in the sauna room from season 3 yelling at her to open the fucking door.
Emotional damage.
Andy catches up to Erica and tackles her as Billy breaks through the door. Max thinks through her memories and transports herself back to the snowball dance from season 2 in 1984. As the swarm of Demobats approach, Dustin and Eddie count down before sprinting into the trailer and cheering over how metal his performance was. Most metal ever. That was just an awesome scene. So then we kick back to Russia, where Joyce, Hopper, and Murray crawl through the hole and find the contained creatures are now broken free. Armed with a flamethrower, the trio go and find the security room riddled with dead bodies and a barely breathing general. Murray asks what had happened and translates to Joyce and Hopper that the monsters had broken it and were led by the Shadow before succumbing to his wounds. Through the security cameras, the crew realize the Mind Flayer has begun controlling the Demogorgons and the Demodogs. Crazy shit.
Owner of the Dogs,
They got that dog in them.
Okay, coach.
In the Upside Down, Steve, Nancy, and Robin open the Creel house door and navigate it carefully. 11 walks through the skate park and eventually finds Max as a younger child and tells the boys that she can't interact with her. When Will asks if anything is off in the memory, 11 finds an out-of-place DJ station on top of the bridge. Max sits at a table in the snowball and waits only for the decorative balloons to start exploding with blood. The record on the DJ table warps.
Which was a reference to Carrie, the horror.
Yes. That was very cool. More horror movie references throughout this season. They begin to explode blood. The DJ table warps as it begins to affect in the memory of the skate park as well. In the snowball memory, the banner and flowers begin to decay as flakes begin to fall. Thunder and lightning begin to surround both memories, and in reality, Lucas keeps attempting to signal Erica. Erica's being held in an arm hold by Andy, who threatens to break her arms. Buddy, that's racist and child abuse. Lucas turns around to find Jason approaching Max, believing it to be the same ritualistic sacrifice that killed Chrissy. Lucas tries to stop him, but Jason holds him at gunpoint. Buddy, you are racist. After forcing him to empty his pockets, Jason dictates to him to wake Max up. Lucas refuses and tells him waking her up could kill them all, but Jason says he'll kill him if he doesn't comply. At the Russian prison, the trio arrive in the courtyard with a plan to bait the Upside Down's creatures into the arena and set it on fire to help out Eleven and the kids. Murray is given the flamethrower while Joyce is told to monitor the security system, and Hopper plans to lead a Demodog out of the prison laundry room, but Joyce is haunted by Bob's encounter with the Demodogs, and that resulted in his death. Hopper reassures her that while he'll die someday, it won't be today. In the Upside Down Munson trailer, Dustin and Eddie have weapons in hand as the bats crash against the windows, with Eddie realizing they're on the roof. Hearing noises from the vents on top, a bat pops through and causes the pair to stab at it vigorously. And at the Creel house, the trio crawl up the stairs and are about to enter the attic when a random earthquake alerts Vecna of the trio's presence. The Vines take Robin and pin her against the wall, and soon take Nancy and Steve as they attempt to help. How nervous were you when that scene happened?
Very nervous. I also knew, or I thought that Robin was going to be the one to step on, because she's made it very adamant that she's like born clumsy and she had learned took her longer to walk than most other children. So I was like, this woman is going to step all up on these vines. In the real house.
She is a clumsy one. So then,
but yeah, I'm nervous because it's doing the whole episode's doing the whole thing where it bounces around storylines, and it kind of illuminates. I can say this because it's not a spoiler.
Totally.
At all. So it kind of illuminates that one person from that group's going to die. Most people thought it was either going to be Steve or Robin. I think you probably agree with that. That's like kind of was.
I was honestly very nervous for Nancy.
That too. But either way, one of them is going to die. Obviously, Max was being alluded at dying, and then Eddie is being alluded, and then Hopper.
Emotional damage.
And then Hopper. But Hopper made that speech, and then you're like, okay, unless the Duffer brothers are like effed up, then I actually think he's not going to die here. And it circles you back to the other three groups, and you're like, oh, who's dying? Because you knew someone was going to have to die. Unfortunately, this show, probably they can't afford to not do anything of that nature in this type of episode, just because how the sheer volume of everything going on at once. Unfortunately, some character or characters have to bite the bullet.
Hopper approaches the laundry room and baits the Demodog to follow him and flees through the halls. In the Munson trailer, Eddie places his garbage can lid over the hole, which I thought was very resourceful. But it proves to be futile as the bats make their way through Eddie's bedroom vents. Closing the bedroom door, Dustin climbs up the rope back to Hawkins' version of the Munson trailer, and Eddie is about to climb, but quickly comes up with a plan to buy more time. He cuts off the rope and pulls away the mattress to protect a distressed Dustin and leaves outside. Eddie bikes away and causes the bats to follow behind as he yells, "Come get me, you sons of bitches!" I love that the core tagline of this season is "son of a bitch," which I think we mentioned on Saturday's episode. At the snowball, Max barricades the doors using tables and chairs, but turns around to find them all gone.
That was scary. It's supposed to be scary, but it made me laugh.
And the Creel house door is in place of it. Vecna begins to taunt Max as she attempts to find more happy memories, but it's interrupted by visions of her friends failing to fight back against him. Vecna pops behind Max and throws her against the wall, and back in reality, Lucas attempts to explain to Jason who Vecna is, and Jason asks if the Hellfire Club had summoned him. Lucas explains that Hellfire isn't a cult, but Jason asks why Chrissy was at Eddie's trailer. Lucas tells him that Chrissy needed to buy drugs, which angers Jason. Lucas rephrases and tells him Chrissy was seeing visions that Vecna enforced it on, and Jason says he knows Lucas is lying since Chrissy would have told him what was going on. No, he wouldn't. No, she wouldn't, buddy, because you're a douchebag. Lucas tells Jason he's wrong about Eddie, but Jason corrects him and says he was wrong about Lucas, regretting ever letting him to join the team, and Lucas retaliates, reiterates and says that he should have never opened the door. And then, they realize that normal is actually, and realizing that being normal, being the popular guy is actually just being a raging psychopath, which I thought was a brilliant line from our boy Lucas. Enraged, Jason tells Lucas he has 5 seconds to wake Max or he shoots. As he counts, Lucas charges towards him and tackles Jason. Andy, distracted by the noise, is incapacitated by Erica, who soon bolts back to the Creel house, and Jason and Lucas begin to brawl, and Jason initially has the upper hand in the process. He breaks Max's Walkman, which at that point I was like, oh, fuck. Not the Walkman, not Kate Bush. And in the snowball...
I have 2 witnesses. I watched it. As soon as the episode opened, I said, Max might die. And if she dies, it's because one of the chodes interrupts or fucks up something. And lo and behold, Jason's dumbass steps on the Walkman.
And before Vecna can kill Max, or Vecna approaches Max and tells her while she's brave, but like everyone else, she'll eventually break. And before Vecna can kill Max, he's thrown back into the air by an unseen force. And then we see those Sakis, and it's our girl 11. And Vecna recognizes her and is thrown into the bleachers. Very awesome line from Vecna where he just goes, "You." I love that. Very eerie, very villain. Love that. And then Eddie leads the swarm through the trailer park, taunting them, and Dustin grabs a chair, hulks himself through the portal, inadvertently injuring his leg as he falls through. That thing broke.
They heard it.
A bat hits Eddie and causes him to crash, initially causing him to run, but Eddie halts when he thinks back to how he ran when Chrissy was murdered and decides to stand his ground. And at the prison, Hopper runs through the halls, fa la 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 la, as Joyce watches from the cameras and notices tasers hung on the wall back at the Creel house. Erica runs to the attic while Jason and Lucas continue to fight. Back in Max's memory, 11 and Max reunite, and although Max questions if Elle is really real, are you really real or are you really real? Their reunion is interrupted when Vecna rises from the bleachers. That was also a very cool, just like cinematic shot of Vecna like walking up out of the broken bleachers.
Agreed.
Elle threatens to kill Vecna again if he touches Max anymore, and Vecna questions whether Elle really killed him and tells her he's glad Elle is here with Max and Vecna battle. They're battling up against each other at Surfer Boy Pizza. They realize Elle is fighting Vecna, and back in the Upside Down, Dustin limps outside the trailer and sees Eddie swarmed by the bats. Elle is thrown around by Vecna, and Max attempts to intervene but is knocked out by Vecna, and then Vecna captures her and informs that he wants her to watch before killing her. He sends her into his mindscape and traps her. Vecna brings an unconscious Max and hoists Max up. And as a last-ditch effort, Elle informs Vecna of Brenner's death, as she understands why he was made into who he is. While he admits that Brenner did hurt him, he says Brenner was not a monster, but just an ordinary man. His need to control both 11 and Vecna proved to be futile, as it was Elle that shapes him into Vecna. Vecna explains when he was sent to the Upside Down, where he thought to be in hell, turned out to be a world untouched by humans, and was fascinated by the Dimension's biggest creature, the Mind Flayer.
Of like him seeing like walking it.
What was that?
It's a pretty cool shot of him like walking.
Oh yeah, him walking. He claims he became an explorer.
But they don't confirm this, but you see it as kind of just like nothingness, but like a almost like he's walking through like some weird national park. No buildings in sight, so it makes you wonder if the theory did he make it look like Hawkins.
That's what a lot of people are saying, because it's like a world untouched by humans, like he mentioned in his earlier monologue from episode 7, that like because he's the first human there, his mind kind of shapes what it gets turned into, which I think is pretty rad.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
So then, he's in a dimension fascinated by the Mind Flayer. He needs an opening, which was what 11 inadvertently did back in 1983, when 11 resisted by destroying the Demogorgon in 1983 and closing the gate in 1984. Vecna then sought her powers by using the Mind Flayer's proxy form to attack Elle in 1985. Shout out Bowling for Soup. Elle attempts to persuade Vecna to stop, but is told that it's over for her and her friends have lost. Lucas continues to be beaten by Jason while Erica is locked out. Bro, how did Lucas survive? Like, he looked like he was just dead already, by the amount of brute force he was being choked with. My dad jokingly said he's going to have brain damage from being choked like that for that long. Like, that's insane.
It is true.
So, he's still getting attacked by Jason. Erica's locked out of the room. Hopper's being tackled by a Demodog. Eddie's pinned down by Demobats and is getting slowly mauled. Nancy, Steve, and Robin are being choked out by vines. Vecna tells Elle that Hawkins will fall as he plans to build something new out of it, something much more beautiful. As Vecna begins the killing of Max, Max's physical body begins to float. And at Surfer Boy Pizza, Mike sees Elle hyperventilating and tells them to put her on a pizza table. As she chokes, Mike calls out to her, it's pizza time. Will reminds Mike that he's the heart of the party, causing Mike to finally tell Elle that he loves her. 11, listening, becomes emotional as Mike apologizes as he's afraid that one day 11 will realize she won't need him anymore, and expressing his feelings will make their departure hurt more. Mike tells Elle that his life started the day he found Elle in the woods, and that he loves her regardless of who she is, with or without her powers, and that she is his superhero. How many people from here on out, Dylan, do you think that's going to be in their wedding vows?
Probably eventually.
Motivated by this, 11 breaks free of the Vine's grasp, and in reality, Lucas hits Jason in the head, hits Jason's head against the wall, and finally knocks him unconscious. Lucas, however, is left horrified as Max's arms and legs break and her eyes slowly bleed. 11 finally breaks free and throws Vecna away from Max. Another very cool scene where it kind of just goes black, and then you see Vecna like warping through the sky, his mouth open. I really enjoyed that scene.
I liked it too. There was a lot of cool effects in this movie, essentially, because it was so long.
Yeah. So then in Russia, Joyce runs to Hopper and tases the Demodog on him to death. As they embrace, Hopper and Joyce run as the Demogorgon sprints towards them. And arriving at the courtyard, the couple is cornered by the monsters when Murray calls for them on top of the viewing stand and lights a flamethrower onto them. You sons of bitches! That was awesome. That was like a fucking yippee-ki-yay motherfucker scene.
It was awesome. There's the
Murray is amazing.
I love him. He's a very cool side character.
This causes Vecna to shake violently while also causing the Demobats surrounding Eddie to fall and the Vines to release Steve, Nancy, and Robin. The trio gather their weapons and once again head to the attic. The Demogorgon, the only monster alive, approaches Hopper, who grabs a sword, running out of ammo. Nancy, Steve, and Robin find Vecna's body in the attic. With 11, Vecna tells her that she thinks she and her friends have won, but it's just the beginning of the end. Hopper runs to the Demogorgon with a sword. This whole scene was so cool. Seeing, our trio of Nancy, Steve, and Robin throwing Molotov cocktails at Vecna's dormant body. You have 11 fighting Vecna in a mind battle, and then you have Hopper using a sword to battle a Demogorgon in Russia.
Sword.
Just so badass.
Crazy. So a lot of people are hoping he kept the sword.
Yeah, I saw somebody saying, I hope they kept the sword, and then he gives the sword to Mike, because in the painting, Mike's got the sword with the shield, which would be really cool. But the cut and the epic Kate Bush running up that hill montage music was just chef's kiss .gif. Like, I was like ready to run through a wall.
I'll run through a wall right now.
I'll do it right now. I'll run through my computer screen. I'll be like Steve from Blue's Clues. All Blues could do real quick.
I miss him.
So then Vecna tells her that she thinks, obviously, that they won. Hopper decapitates the Demogorgon. Steve throws a Molotov cocktail at Vecna's body and lights him on fire, which causes Vecna and his mindscape to vanish around 11. And as Vecna stands up, Robin throws another Molotov at him, while Nancy shoots Vecna a couple times with that sawed-off shotty. Bop, bop. Get wrecked. Nancy knows how to use a gun, ladies and gents. She's been using them since season 1, and they just get bigger and badder.
Use like every kind of gun almost at this point. I'm just
yeah,
waiting
it's nuts.
Duca next season.
She's gonna have a rocket launcher.
Yeah, probably.
And as Vecna stands up, Nancy uses the gun a couple times, causing him to fall out the window and onto the ground. Very, again, Freddy Krueger-esque. And at the prison, Murray cheers while Joyce and Hopper watch in shock as a functioning Katinka arrives, driven by Yuri and Antonov. That scene was very cool, too, seeing them show up, and it's like, yes, they actually came through. Nancy, Steve, and Robin arrive outside the Creel house to find Vecna's body gone, with only singes remaining. Dustin limps towards a mortally wounded Eddie, who is gushing blood. Eddie, choking on his blood, says that he didn't run away this time, and makes a tearful Dustin promise to look after the Hellfire Club, a.k.a. those sheep, telling him that he loves him. Eddie dies. I'm gonna say Eddie dies. As Dustin cries, they both, giving back the I love you mans. That was an emotional scene for your boy. I was like bawling my eyes out when that happened. Erica breaks through the attic, looks and the attic lock, and is horrified to find Lucas holding a mutilated Max in his arms. He tells her to call an ambulance as she bolts down the stairs. Max tells Lucas she can't see or feel anything, her eyes covered in blood. 11 in the void cries alongside Lucas as Max says she's not ready to die, and Lucas sobs hysterically as he calls for Erica when Max succumbs to her injuries, which that whole sequence with Lucas apparently was all just ad-libbed by Caleb McLaughlin, which is unreal.
Good for him.
In the Upside Down, the Creel house's clock chimes 4 times as Robin, Nancy, and Steve realize Max is gone. Suddenly, the house begins to shake as the trio hold onto the banister, and in the Creel house on the other side, Lucas pulls Max away as a large red crack forms within the middle of the attic, quickly gaining momentum as it tears through that motherfucker Jason. Goodbye, bitch boy. Bye-bye. I was so hyped when he was dead.
What a way to kill him off, too.
It was a very fun callback as well, because a lot of people forget that early in Volume 1, when they're celebrating after the basketball game, Lucas is hung over for the first time. Jason says the first one will split you in 2.
Love that.
It kills Jason. Is it bad that I hated Jason more than Vecna?
Yes, because Vecna has mad bodies. Jason has a soul, but it's okay. It's okay.
But the way I view it is, if Jason would have just shut the fuck up, none of that happens. Everything that happened following, like, I guess it was the nerd kid's death, because Jason's did Jason's buddy die before the town hall meeting?
I think it died.
Died after, right?
No, I think before.
So whenever, like, Jason barging into the town hall meeting was the domino effect for everything else happening. If he just shuts the fuck up and sits down and lets the cops handle everything, they can all go out and do all of this, but everything else is a product of Jason being just a pompous dickhead.
Yeah, he's definitely an ass. Definitely an ass. It's just, he's dead, so who cares now?
Bye-bye! So Jason's dead. The crack tears through the Creel home and continues onward, with the remaining cracks formed from each murder rip open and tearing through Hawkins, causing massive destruction and mayhem everywhere. At the Wheeler home, Mrs. Wheeler runs to Holly as their house shakes violently. The 4 tears meet at the center of Hawkins, the library, as it explodes and causes a wave of clock chimes to ring through. Back in Surfer Boy Pizza, Mike tearfully whispers to Elle that he knows she's in there and needs to wake up. In the void, Elle sits in silence as Lucas cradles Max's body, not willing to let her go. Elle uses her new abilities to restart Max's heart. Then we cut to 2 days later.
This ability did not sit well with me.
I didn't hate it because I think it was...
I got flashbacks. Dude, I was waiting for her to turn to the camera and be like, I'm 11 Skywalker.
I didn't hate it because I felt like it was more a callback to Brenner saying she wasn't ready, and it was just more of her powers like developing out of like the happy memories and like everything Mike was telling her. I felt like it was just more of her powers developing.
I'm not mad at it. I just personally, I actually very much enjoy Max's character. So I'm about to say, I'm not out to get against her or get her. I love her character. I hate, even in shows that I hate when characters beat death in like cheap ways, essentially until they explain it more. As far as I saw with my eyes, what Max cheats. I mean, granted, she just got revived. She still has a broken leg and arm, and potentially still blind. And then that comes in the question of mortality or morality. It's like this: if she's blind and has 2 broken appendages, we hope this next season takes a long leap, or else she's useless next year or next season, just because of the broken leg and arm and being blind.
I think her being where she's at is a very key cog in the wheel of season 5, which we'll get into in just a little bit. 2 days later, the California crew arrive in Hawkins, only to find numerous citizens leaving the town. The opening of the Upside Down is perceived as an earthquake through the media and the townspeople, with 22 casualties resulting from the disaster. At the Wheeler home, Mrs. Wheeler begins packing while helping Nancy, Steve, Dustin, and Robin load up Steve's car with donations for the Red Cross at Hawkins High. They're interrupted with the arrival of the California crew, and everyone embraces. Mrs. Wheeler reunites with her son Mike. Jonathan reunites with Nancy and tells her that he knows a lot more than she thinks and apologizes for not reaching out since he couldn't risk contact. Dustin embraces Will and Elle, who ask where Lucas is, causing Dustin to tell them what has happened. At the Hawkins Memorial Hospital, Max is in a comatose state while Lucas and Erica sit by her bedside. Lucas reading a very interesting book that we'll talk about later in the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes. The party arrives and Lucas embraces Mike, Will, and Elle as he tells them the doctors aren't sure when Max will wake since it was a miracle she's even alive. Her heart stopped for over a minute and she died clinically. Elle sits on Max's bed holding her hand and whispering that she's here. At Hawkins High School, Steve, Robin, and Dustin arrive with donations as they see how many people are homeless and injured. Offering their services, Steve is sent to comb through the clothing donations while Robin is sent to make some sandwiches. And then Vicky pops out from the kitchen and is caught off guard that Robin is there. Her discombobulated nature and ranting leads her to apologize to Robin, who is amused and tells her she relates to her, causing Steve to smile from a distance as he watches Vicky and Robin chat away.
Proud mom moment.
Proud mom. Dustin has been sent to give water to the people, but stops when he sees Wayne Munson put up a missing poster sign for Eddie. And when Dustin approaches, Wayne is initially cold when asked about Eddie, believing him to be like everyone else. But Dustin stops and tells him he was with him when the earthquake happened. And when Wayne asks where he is, Dustin tearfully pulls out Eddie's guitar pick and tells him he's so sorry. Dustin comforts Wayne by telling him that he wasn't at all how everyone portrayed him and that he fought so hard to protect the town that hated him, hailing him as a hero. Again, I sobbed my eyes out during that whole thing. 11, Mike, Will, Nancy, Jonathan, and Argyle, say that 10 times fast, arrive at Hopper's cabin in the Surfer Boy pizza van and decide to spruce it up. Outside, while Jonathan and Nancy board up the windows, they apologize for not being there for one another. Jonathan asks if things between them are all right, to which Nancy hesitantly says yes. Nancy asks if Jonathan ever got his college acceptance letter, to which Jonathan lies and says that it hadn't arrived yet. Mike and Will discuss Elle's struggles to fight, while Mike hoping that Vecna is dead. Will says though Vecna is hurt, he's still alive, and that now that he's in Hawkins, he can feel the presence of Vecna on his neck. Will had thought it was the Mind Flayer, but realizes it was Vecna who simply used the Mind Flayer as a puppet and tells Mike he won't stop until he's taken everyone, but Mike tells him that they'll find a way. Their conversation is interrupted when a car approaches the cabin. Did your heart stop a little bit when you saw that car roll up? I was like, who the hell is this?
I think I knew who it was.
It's revealed that back in the hospital, 11 had attempted to locate Max's presence in the void, but couldn't find her anywhere. Suddenly, 11 hears a large figure approaching her door and is shocked to see it's our big daddy, Jim Hopper. She breaks down in tears, and the two embraces. 11 never stopped believing he was alive, and the two rekindle their father-daughter relationship. Hearing noise outside, 11 runs out to see Joyce. The two hug. Hopper and Joyce were given a ride by one of Owen's agents. Mike approaches Hopper, who says he's grown, and the two embrace. Suddenly, Will begins to feel goosebumps on his neck as he looks to the sky to see looming clouds. The group take notice as they look, and 11 sees gray particles falling out of the sky. Meanwhile, all over Hawkins, the people take notice as well. Mrs. Wheeler and Holly at the Wheeler house.
Finally, people are seeing it.
Lucas and Erica at the hospital. And Steve, Robin, Vicky, Dustin, and Wayne at Hawkins High. Joyce, Hopper, 11, Mike, Will, Nancy, and Jonathan walk their way to a field over Hawkins, seeing the clouds stemming from the cracks of the Upside Down with red lightning striking out. And 11 takes notice of the field slowly dying as the group realizes that the Upside Down is beginning its invasion on the world. And that, ladies and gents, is how you wrap up Season 4 of Stranger Things from Volume 2, Episode 9. What a phenomenal episode. Like we said at the top, I mean, I'm sure we are going to be theorizing about this show for the next couple of years. We have plenty of time. But Dylan, your initial thoughts on how this season ended and where it's going to propel us forward for Season 5, which allegedly will be in 2 years, and apparently the Duffer Brothers will begin writing Season 5 next month.
So I believe we're going to end up towards a state of like nonstop action, or more action. I just with how it ended, it like you said, invasion. That's a bold word to put. If it's going to be a quiet, tame season, have more character death, just because it's the finale and people are. Some actors like being written off in that way. It is a thing. Ultimately, also, if it's the finale of the actual show and like they actually conclude it, like if they win, people are gonna unfortunately have to die or become very injured along the process. And I think we're just gonna see something that our brains can't even function. Like we're gonna see some epic conclusion to several years of our life. Hopefully it's good. You always get nervous with last seasons of shows. Now the pressure's really on them because they did well before. So we'll see. It's up to the Duffer Brothers.
Yeah, I think there's so much on the table. And I'm sure in the coming weeks, Dylan and I will be spewing our theories for this season. But I think they did an awesome job leaving it, where the season ended, kind of, everybody staring off into the impending doom. And then, it just gets you like in a state of like, okay, what's going to happen type situation. So I loved that aspect. I love the reunions. Apparently season 5 is going to be filled with a lot of the season 1 relationships, allegedly.
Time jump too, right?
Which I think the time jump isn't going to happen. I think we talked about this on Saturday too. I don't think the time jump's going to happen until later in the season.
I think it's like everyone 5 years later.
Something like that, yeah.
I agree because it doesn't make sense with how this season ended. Like,
correct.
Everything's going to sit idly for years. Like, nah.
So, Dylan, that brings us to us giving our Stranger Things Season 4 rating.
Yes. Me, folks, I'm just changing Emmy off screen. Can't see anything. Don't want to violate codes. But, my
boots
score.
And cats and boots and cats and boots and cats.
No, I'm just putting on gym shorts. That episode, I give it in the 9 range again, and then as a whole, as a show, I'd probably say I'd give it like a 9.1. 9.1.
So 9.1 ties your Moon Knight score. And still has Peacemaker as your top show of 2022.
I love Stranger Things. I'd probably give it a 9.2 or a 9.3. That one scene with Elle randomly getting the powers just kind of made me think of the Star Wars trilogy I hate so bad. Nerf the score.
I am going to give episode 9 a 9.9. Like, that episode to me was just unbelievable from start to finish. It's very rare that you get tear-jerking moments out of me from a show,
That's
and
true.
to have that happen multiple times,
As
hats off to the Duffers.
and as positive he doesn't really cry.
Yeah, there are
He's a
very few
positive guy, he's
shows.
not really a crier.
And I think I'm going to give season 4 as a whole. I'm giving this it was damn near flawless, man. It's reigning supreme as, in my top 3 shows of all time, but season 4, I'm also giving the season as a whole a 9.9 out of 10.
That say no more. Kyle just gave the Duffer Brothers the ultimate flattery. He literally gave them a near perfect score. In the eyes of one Kyle Bennett, Stranger Things is elite.
And that, Dylan, gives Stranger Things an overall score from us, a 9.5 out of 10, which is tied with Peacemaker for our top show of 2022, which I can't argue. I think both of them have been the 2 best shows we have watched from start to finish this year.
Yeah, it makes sense too, because I enjoyed that one and you really enjoyed this one. We both enjoyed both of them, so it works out perfectly.
Yeah. Dylan and I will have a lot more theories as the weeks move on and as the months move on. But Dylan, I think it is time to move on to the MCU and discuss Miss Marvel Episode 5. A lot of takes on the interwebs about this one, as in this episode titled Time and Again.
I'm not going to lie, I fell asleep during it.
Shortest episode of the season, only about 30 minutes when you remove the credits and everything. So we take place most of this season, a lot of it, in 1942 India, as Aisha flees from assailants and takes refuge in a village. Hassan, an Indian independence activist. I have to say, though, Aisha and Hassan, they are the new MCU hot couple.
Okay.
They are attractive as hell together.
I can get behind that.
Officer of Food and Shelter. They fall in love and have a child, a.k.a. Sana, which is Kamala's grandmother.
Sure.
5 years later, Najma tracks Aisha and orders her to retrieve the bangle. Aisha leaves the bangle with Sana and attempts to flee to the new nation of Pakistan with her family, but Najma tracks her down and stabs her. Hassan and Sana are separated in the chaos, and Kamala finds herself able to interact with Aisha, who asks her to guide Sana, conjuring a projection of stars, quote unquote, that leads Sana to her father. Kamala realizes that it was she who had mysteriously reunited Sana and Hassan in the past. Returning to the present, she finds that Najma's strike had opened the Veil of Nur, but it vaporizes anyone who interacts with it. Najma sacrifices herself to shut the veil, transferring power to Kamran before dying. Sana and Muniba track down Kamala, and the latter accepts her daughter's powers. Meanwhile, a DODC drone attacks Kamran, who has moved in with Bruno, and Kamran unleashes a blast of power from his hands onto the drone, inadvertently causing it to destroy the shop below them.
We don't talk about Bruno. That's all.
I love the comedy in this episode from when it's taking place in present day, especially from Sana. Again, the depiction of partition was very historically accurate, so hats off to Marvel for that. I think the interaction of both Hassan and Aisha was beautifully done, and I think I was not expecting them to go like the Harry Potter route, as everyone has called it, where it was Kamala all along saving her, and I think that was more so just because when it cuts to Kamala being with Aisha, she says Sana first, thinking that it's going to be present day Sana coming to interact and everything. But interesting tactic, and let's be honest, this is not the first time this has happened. We have Old Man Cap in the MCU, ladies and gents. I saw a lot of people complaining about the whole situation with it. It's like Old Man Cap has interfered with the timeline and fixed some things on his own to fix things for regular Cap. So, in such a short episode, a lot to kind of take away from this. I do like that the clandestines are gone. Bye-bye. I I also found it interesting that, Najma sacrificing herself transported her power to Kamran so that he gets his bioluminescent power from the comics, which is very cool that they're actually giving him the powers. And I also loved the switch up from the comics to now the MCU of Kamala's necklace being the origin of her Miss Marvel symbol.
Yeah, I don't mind that either, to be honest.
I think it's very cool from like a real life perspective where a lot of, Pakistani Muslim kids are going to see those necklaces that they wear and it's like, oh, that's me. I think that's a very cool touch from the MCU. I mean, this episode proves that the DODC is really going to be the long-term villains of this show. So I'm intrigued to see where it wraps up. This is very similar to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, in my opinion, where they've done a lot in 5 episodes, but now I'm curious how they're going to wrap it all up.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how they're going to wrap it up either or what direction they're going. I am intrigued in that sense. This episode was just weird for me. The flashback, like the time travel mixed with like how short it was. Yeah.
I think the funniest tweet I saw was, y'all just going to end episode 5 of Miss Marvel like the power went out?
That's true, though.
I mean, it technically did. They done blew up poor Bruno's store. I'm very intrigued to see, and I'm excited that Adil and Bilal are the directors for the finale, who also directed the first episode. And they're like the main, people behind this show. I feel like this show is one that could have used more than 6 episodes.
Yeah, probably.
To kind of lengthen out the story and really tell everything that they wanted to tell. I feel like a lot got condensed or a lot got cut to kind of like fit things in. And I feel like we missed out on a lot of things going into the finale.
Yeah, that's true. I'm curious to see what show's gonna break the 6 episode mold
We've only had WandaVision do it.
They seem to have on Disney.
WandaVision's the only one, and that even got cut back because it was supposed to be 10 episodes and it got cut to 9. Same thing with What If, went from 10 to 9. But we will now rate Miss Marvel episode 5, which, it being so short is like I think the biggest weird aspect of this episode.
Yeah, I'm giving it like a 6 out of 10. I'm gonna keep it bean.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one like a 7.2.
Kyle's lowest scores, people. Just let that sink.
Being a big history buff and nerd and just like learning about different historical aspects, I appreciated and enjoyed that part of the episode.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the clandestines kind of being gone now, that weird arc. I said last episode it's very eerily similar to the Flag Smashers, where they were kind of, I felt like, just misused. And then, I'm just very intrigued to see how this show is going to wrap up. Do you think next week, Dylan, we will get a big cameo from either Monica Rambeau or Carol Danvers?
I hope so. I think that'll help save part of the show just to kind of tie it in. Because we know as a show, Miss Marvel may never be a thing again, but we know that the actress and the character Miss Marvel are going to be very much involved in the MCU. And some of the other characters in the show might be here or there as cameos or, and so it would be cool to have that, a cameo, yes. It would tie everything in.
Because we mentioned this on Saturday, too. Like, we know Miss Marvel is an origin story flat out because Kamala Khan is going to be in the Marvels movie in 2023. So, very interesting way to release a penultimate episode. We will see how the finale goes with Miss Marvel. I'm intrigued. I'm excited. I love the character herself. I just want more from her. And I think this is a show that, like Dylan and I said, it could have used maybe 8 episodes rather than 6 to fully tell the story of what they wanted to get across.
Things, and they could have took their time and, explained things better for all of us.
So Miss Marvel episode 5, our lowest score, not that it was bad, it just felt weird. that it was the shortest episode for the penultimate, and it felt like a lot was kind of just packed in and not a lot of explanation going into a finale. But Dylan, you know what gets a lot of explanation? Everybody's favorite segment. It is the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by the homies over at Pickup. You guys can go to playpickup.com, start playing the hottest headlines in sports, rack up points on your fan profiles, cash them in for prizes on the Pickup marketplace. That's playpickup.com. Some more Stranger Things news here, Dylan, as we got a big old piece of news earlier today as we record this on Wednesday. The Duffer Brothers launch a Netflix, as they are calling it, shingle on the house that is Netflix, called Upside Down Pictures.
You got shingles?
AstraZeneca may be able to help. So Upside Down Productions, they are going to be releasing a lot of projects coming out from the Duffer Brothers. And just to read off what they have revealed so far, because my goodness, is it a lot? When you saw this news today, Dylan, were you
it was crazy
blown away?
I didn't even, because there was no leak or no like rumor about it, so I was kind of like, this is extremely random. Like, what is happening?
Yeah. So, per Netflix, the Duffer Brothers have formed Upside Down Pictures, a new production company through which they will develop film and television projects as part of their overall deal with Netflix. Here's a sneak peek at a few of the projects that are currently in development. Number 1, an all-new live-action television adaptation of the renowned Japanese manga and anime series Death Note.
Not excited about this because the other movie they already had sucked.
I will say I'm intrigued simply because it's the Duffer Brothers.
That's cool. That's what gets you to watch some crazy stuff. Then by all means.
An original series from creators Jeffrey Addis and Will Matthews, Dark Crystal: Age of Renaissance.
Okay.
A series adaptation of Stephen King and Peter Straub's The Talisman, to be created by Curtis Gwynn, which I hinted at earlier in the episode during our Stranger Things breakdown. The Talisman is the book that Lucas is reading to Max in the hospital room.
It is a weird book to be reading to your girlfriend.
The next project is a new stage play set within the world and mythology of Stranger Things, produced by prolific and multi-award-winning producers Sonia Friedman, Stephen Daldry from The Crown, Billy Elliot, and The Reader, and Netflix. Daldry will also direct. We are getting a Stranger Things play, which is unreal. And then, obviously, the one that everybody has, rumored and talked about, a live-action Stranger Things spin-off series based on an original idea by the Duffer Brothers that only the Duffer Brothers and Finn Wolfhard know about.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know if I brought this up on Saturday's show or not. Apparently, Finn Wolfhard approached the Duffer Brothers and said, hey, this would be a really cool idea to spin off Stranger Things. And they were like, that is our idea. So that is the only reason Finn knows what the project is because he guessed it. I'm pumped about this.
I'm pumped about it. I think it opens up the door. I think every major franchise, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, etc. I think they all deserve what if and spin-offs of things.
Especially if they're successful.
Yes. Obviously, if they're not successful, then scratch this. I mean, even The Boys is successful. Yeah. There's already animated cartoon about it, and they already got another season. So my point is it's cool to see continuations and stories keep going or another angles to it, and it's also cool to see what ifs. You can't watch Stranger Things and tell me it wouldn't be interesting. It would be very interesting rather to see what if Vecna did win, or what if the Mind Flayer won. Or what if the military did my method and they just nuked it? You know what I mean?
100%.
It's cool.
The next bit of Stranger Things news we have, Joseph Quinn improvised the I Love You Man line in Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 2.
Awesome.
And
full for you.
Brought this up earlier. The Duffer Brothers say they will start writing the final season of Stranger Things next month, as they are going to take a little vacation in July. You also brought up Hellboy earlier, Dylan. David Harbour called Ryan Reynolds the day Hellboy released in theaters and said, I was like, hey man, you know Green Lantern? Huge flop for you. What the fuck is that like? Because I think I'm going to hit that right now.
Love that.
That is via GQ Magazine. The final season of Stranger Things will be set entirely in Hawkins, with a lot of the original groupings and pairings that were in Season 1.
Well, to be fair, I think that... Well, that's incredible. And I was going to say, I think Green Lantern flopped because it sucked. I didn't see it. I heard people say it wasn't that bad, so I don't know. I haven't seen it.
You'll love this. We all know Taika Waititi has dibs on the next Star Wars movie.
He does.
He forgot Natalie Portman was in the prequel trilogy and asked her to star in his Star Wars movie.
What a dummy.
Natalie said, what next? And I said, I'm trying to work on a Star Wars thing. Have you ever wanted to be in a Star Wars movie? She said, I've been in Star Wars movies. I forgot about those ones, he said.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if it's done yet. You might have more news, but I have to do the segue. Speaking of not forgetting, don't regret. Don't regret. Don't forget to leave reviews that tell Kyle and I what to watch. We are running out of ideas. We are not actually. I'm trying to exaggerate, but my point is we are done. Stranger Things. Miss Marvel is almost done because Disney only does 6 episodes. There is some stuff lined up, and we'll do a review here and there, but we need something else to cover, guys, so let us know. We've gotten some recommendations. My coworker gave me his Apple TV password today.
There we go. Last bit of news here, Stuart Beattie, who was the original writer for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I was like, get out.
Because we all know Obi-Wan Kenobi was supposed to be a movie that has like officially become like public knowledge, even though we've talked about it on this show for months now. Initially, his version of it began with Darth Vader taking on 5 Jedi at once and killing all of them.
Damn.
He also won against Obi-Wan in the final fight. They were fighting on this space station, and Vader pushed him off. Stuart Beattie also says once Obi-Wan realized Anakin Skywalker was gone, he would have killed Vader if he had the chance. Quote, you know, how many countless lives would have been saved, right? Especially knowing that Vader would be hunting other Jedi.
That's a good point.
And final bit here that will just make you absolutely laugh, Dylan, because I know this guy tickles your fancy a bit. Quentin Tarantino says he watches a lot of Peppa Pig. Quote from Empire Magazine, Peppa Pig is the greatest British import of this decade.
Oh my god.
And Quentin says, Quentin finds watching Despicable Me 2 a more consuming experience than Peppa Pig.
Good for him, I guess. He's a strange man. You have to be strange when you deliver great movies like he does.
Fun stuff coming up next week, Dylan. Thor Love and Thunder drops in theaters this week. We will obviously be talking about it. What's that?
Is it coming out this Friday?
Yep, Friday.
Shit, I have to go see that.
So if anything ties into the streaming universe, you know we will be talking about it. And like Dylan said, we only got one more episode of Miss Marvel left, and then we are off from, week by week shows for about a month until, mid-August, which is wild. It's been a while since we've had that reprieve. So make sure you guys are following us on the socials to keep up to date with everything we're doing schedule-wise and everything at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram, and like we said at the top of the show, make sure you check out that giveaway for the Wolverine number 22 Brian Dawkins variant cover on our Twitter, and it will be linked in the description of the podcast and on YouTube. You get an extra entry if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, for all of our written content. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews on Apple with recommendations of shows and movies to watch. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the like button, hit the bell icon, comment down below, and be a friend, tell a friend, and share the channel with your friends. Big shout out to our sponsors, Tomahawk Shades, Kenwood Beer, Bino Board, and Pickup. All their information is linked in the show notes on Apple and Spotify, and of course in the YouTube description. This has been another episode of StreamerSZN, the exclusive TV and movie podcast for streaming platforms on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Dylan, I'm KB, and until next week, we are going to go have the most metal concert ever.
Yeah.